Imagine yourself in the heart of the eternal city, Rome, where the scents of steam and noble marble mingle in the air, and the insatiable bustle of Roman nobility reigns supreme. The Thermae, these oases of tranquility, seem like idyllic places where the creme de la creme of society gather to relax and rejuvenate after a demanding day. Yet, behind the walls of these seemingly serene baths, there was far more than just healing hot water. What many considered a sanctuary of peace and purity often transformed into the perfect setting for clandestine love affairs, treacherous political alliances, and monstrous crimes capable of forever altering the course of a great empire's history. Rome was plunged into an ominous shadow, where luxury and boundless power intertwined in an intricate pattern, and where, amidst clouds of steam, the threads of the era's most notorious scandals were spun. On the eve of December 31st, 192 AD, as Rome prepared to welcome the new year, there was no hint of festive cheer in the imperial palace. Emperor Commodus, whose name became synonymous with unbridled megalomania and a morbid obsession with gladiatorial combat, spent his days steeped in luxury and indulging in the most incredible excesses. On that fateful night, as on many others, he made his way to his private bath, located in a secluded corner of the imperial thermal complex. He could not have imagined that this night would be his last. His closest enemies, driven to despair by his insane antics and cruelty, decided it was time to put an end to his tyrannical rule. Following a failed poisoning attempt orchestrated by his mistress Marcia, the chamberlain Eclectus, and the praetorian prefect Latus, the conspirators were left with only one, more radical, method to eliminate the emperor. On that fateful night, as silence enveloped everything, the mighty and taciturn Narcissus, Commodus's trusted wrestling instructor, received a fatal order. He was commanded to take the emperor's life whilst he was indulging in his ablutions. Unsuspecting, Commodus was serenely splashing in his bath when Narcissus silently entered the bathing chamber. Thick steam billowed in the air, creating an illusion of peace and serenity. But the moment the emperor turned, Narcissus ruthlessly strangled him with his bare hands. Thus, in this place where warm water once brought pleasure and relaxation, a Roman emperor found his eternal rest. The next morning, Rome awoke unaware that its ruler had fallen victim to a secret assassination in the very place where he sought comfort and tranquility. Commodus's demise not only marked the end of his dynasty, but also plunged Rome into a new crisis. The empire, which had seemed unshakable, trembled under the weight of betrayal. Faustina the Younger, wife of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, presented herself to the people as a woman of particular charm, but her name was shrouded in mysteries and gossip that followed her throughout the vast empire. One of the most sinister rumors that tarnished her reputation for centuries involved a gladiator and bloody spectacles. It was said that Faustina, consumed by an overwhelming and dangerous passion, fell madly in love with a gladiator, and this forbidden love brought her to the brink of a major scandal. A veil of mystery shrouds this episode, turning it into a subject of gossip and dark legends. Some historical sources hint that Faustina, driven by insatiable desires and having lost hope of self-control, sought help from Chaldean astrologers. They, in turn, offered her a sinister solution, as if straight from the pages of a nightmare. It is said that to rid herself of this all-consuming obsession, the empress was to perform a ritual cleansing in the blood of her beloved. According to these ancient accounts, the gladiator was executed, and his blood was used to fill Faustina's private pool. The empress, obeying the instructions of the ominous rite, immersed herself in the crimson, blood-stained waters. Shrouded in the darkness of centuries, this story raises a pertinent question. Is it an echo of genuine events, carefully hidden from prying eyes, or is it an artfully fabricated slander, designed to tarnish the empress's honor and dignity? The truth may forever remain buried beneath the sands of time. Nevertheless, the sinister rumor continues to live on through the ages, transforming into one of the most captivating and shocking legends with which Rome is so richly endowed. Despite the skepticism of many historians, this chilling story reflects something deeply ingrained in Roman culture: a morbid fascination with cruelty, an attraction to dramatic events, and an interest in the dark secrets hidden behind the elite's facade. Whether this ritual was reality or merely a sinister metaphor, the image of an empress bathing in blood is forever etched in the annals of history, serving as a warning about the destructive power of unbridled desires and the excesses that can lurk behind the glamour and luxury of the highest echelons of power. Withdrawing to the island of Capri, Emperor Tiberius seemingly sought solitude and respite from the burdens of power. However, within the walls of his opulent villa, amidst hidden gardens and private thermae, a series of events unfolded that cast a dark shadow over the history of the Roman Empire. As the historian Suetonius reports, Capri became a refuge for Tiberius, where he indulged in the most extravagant and questionable pleasures. A particular concern were his relationships with a group of young individuals known as the Little Fish. These young people, specially trained to entertain the emperor, frolicked around him in private pools whilst he enjoyed the warmth of the thermal waters. But behind these amusements lay something more than mere entertainment. The Little Fish engaged in games and caresses that, in the modern world, would provoke profound outrage and rejection. A veil of mystery and suspicion enveloped these practices, carried out in secret thermae where everything was arranged to conceal what was happening from prying eyes. Nevertheless, rumors of the illicit goings-on quickly spread beyond the villa's walls. Tiberius, once a celebrated military commander, was now portrayed to society as an emperor steeped in his dark and depraved passions. Despite modern historians' efforts to temper the fervor of these narratives, often attributed to political opponents, the echo of the rumors they generated remains palpable. The image of Tiberius, surrounded by submissive youths in luxurious settings, became an embodiment of moral decay. Thus, Capri, once a tranquil haven, transformed into an island shrouded in dark fame, serving as a reminder of how far the powerful can go in pursuit of pleasure. Roman thermae, at first glance, represented a triumph of engineering and a place of public communion. Here, in an atmosphere of warmth and camaraderie, thousands of Romans gathered, regardless of social distinctions. Mixed baths, where men and women enjoyed the water together, served as a venue for daily encounters. However, beneath the veneer of this apparent harmony lay a bubbling cauldron of passions, unrestrained desires, and secret liaisons. Martial, renowned for his incisive sketches of Roman life, saw mixed baths as an inexhaustible source of visual impressions. But authors such as Juvenal and Seneca expressed condemnation of what transpired. According to them, the thermae became an arena for indecent proposals, unwanted touches, and ambiguous situations. Satirists claimed that women from high society left the baths in a state of greater arousal than when they entered. When the doors of the thermae opened, visitors entered a world where hygiene intertwined with hedonism, and socializing with the potential for scandalous encounters. The rampant prostitution in these public baths reached such a scale that even those in power, such as Emperor Hadrian, and later Marcus Aurelius and Alexander Severus, attempted to eradicate the phenomenon, but their efforts did not yield the desired results. Whispers of secret sexual liaisons between strangers, of aristocrats meeting slaves, and even more organized forms of debauchery continued to circulate in society. In some thermal complexes, enterprising individuals even began to set up brothels on the upper stories to satisfy the growing demand for carnal pleasures. In Pompeii, excavations in the changing rooms of the thermae uncovered frescoes depicting erotic scenes, which many researchers consider a kind of catalog of available services. And although the Christian Church subsequently condemned these morals, for Romans until the 3rd century AD, the thermae were not merely a place for bodily cleansing. they transformed into centers of temptation, where desires surfaced, and at times, serious scandals erupted. And although the marble gleamed and the water flowed with crystal clarity, the soul of the Thermae was stained by secrets that only thick steam could conceal from prying eyes. Rome, the heart of a vast empire where power was closely intertwined with intrigue and betrayal, became the stage for the tragic death of Octavia, daughter of Emperor Claudius and lawful wife of Nero. Octavia fell victim to the ruthless logic of political games, where figures who had lost their usefulness were unhesitatingly sacrificed to maintain power. Emperor Nero's love for Poppaea Sabina marked the beginning of a new phase of political intrigues and personal tragedies in Rome. Seeking to legitimize their union, Nero resorted to a desperate measure to get rid of his wife Octavia. He brought false accusations of barrenness against her and spread malicious rumors of her infidelity. Despite the widespread love and support Octavia enjoyed, Nero could not tolerate the growing public discontent caused by his decision. However, Nero's cruelty was not limited to a simple execution. In a monstrous turn of events, Octavia was exiled to a secluded villa, away from prying eyes. According to Tacitus, she was brought to a scorching hot caldarium, a superheated steam room transformed into a sinister place of execution. There, her veins were opened, simulating suicide, and the hot steam slowly enveloped her body, bringing a torturous death. The horror of this execution lay not only in its brutality, but also in the fact that it occurred in a place that should have been associated with well-being and relaxation, transformed into an instrument of death. Octavia was not only physically destroyed. Nero sought to erase her from the memory of posterity, to consign her name and lineage to oblivion. The story of her demise became a dark warning, a reminder that even in the brilliant Roman Empire, no empress was immune to the ambitions and ruthlessness of rulers. In majestic Rome, where the clang of weapons and triumphal processions defined the political landscape, another form of influence flourished, power rooted in aesthetics and physical perfection. Poppaea Sabina, wife of Emperor Nero, understood the art of governance through beauty like no other. Possessing skin that seemed to glow from within and features close to ideal, she was tirelessly consumed by the pursuit of eternal youth, elevating self-care to the rank of an extravagant ritual. What for many seemed like mundane attention to appearance, in the imperial palace became the subject of heated discussions and scandalous gossip. Instead of ordinary water, Poppaea preferred to bathe in milk, but not just any milk, the freshest donkey's milk, warmed and infused with floral essences. Legend has it that her retinue included over 300 donkeys to ensure a continuous supply of this key component of her beauty regimen. Every morning, Poppaea would retreat to specially designated chambers of the palace, where her bath was prepared in silver and marble basins, and the air filled with fragrance. For long hours, she indulged in anointing herself with oils and perfumes, surrounded by handmaidens who attentively catered to her needs. Poppaea Sabina's luxurious and extravagant ritual of taking milk baths caused a storm of indignation in Rome, where the republican ideals of asceticism were still strong. Despite the absence of any criminal offense, this act provoked a wave of public outrage. For some, it was the epitome of sophistication and luxury. For others, a symbol of imperial decay and wasteful use of resources. Poppaea, who cultivated the image of an earthly goddess, tragically died after a violent quarrel with Nero, leaving behind a controversial legacy where painful beauty and excessive luxury went hand in hand. The irony of fate was that Poppaea, who so diligently cared for her youth and beauty, did not live to old age. Her milk baths became a symbol of imperial vanity, a reminder of how the cult of beauty in the heart of the Roman Empire could escalate into a dangerous obsession. The era of Constantine the Great was marked by large-scale transformations within the empire. Constantine, who went down in history as the emperor who legalized Christianity and united the empire under the banner of a new spirituality, also confronted a dark side hidden within his own family. One of the darkest episodes of his reign was the story of his second wife, Fausta, an influential and powerful figure at the imperial court. At the very heart of the Roman court, Fausta, mother of 3 imperial heirs, held a prominent place in Rome's political life. However, as her influence grew, rumors began to circulate about her excessive ambitions and escalating conflicts within the imperial family. In 326 AD, following the unexpected and mysterious execution of Crispus, Constantine's son from a previous marriage, public opinion was agitated by various speculations. It was whispered that Fausta herself had slandered Crispus, falsely accusing him of reprehensible acts, which served as the fatal pretext for his execution. Others claimed that a long-standing conflict had been brewing between them, but the true causes of the tragedy remained undetermined. One thing is certain: soon after these tragic events, Fausta was condemned, bypassing an open trial and public pronouncement of sentence. Fausta was secretly taken to a caldarium, a private, overheated steam room. The temperature was raised to its limit, the air became unbearably stifling, and in this atmosphere of unbearable torment, Fausta met her death. Some historians believe it was a carefully disguised execution, whilst others see it as retribution for betrayal. But all agree that it was a cold-blooded, planned act designed to cover tracks and conceal the true motives of what had transpired. No trace of violence remained in history, no crimson bloodstains, no desperate cries. Only clouds of steam and the muffled echo of tragic events within the emperor's family. After Fausta's demise, her name was consigned to oblivion, erased from official chronicles, as if she had never existed. However, the account of her death did not vanish without a trace. In the very heart of the first Christian empire, a scene of brutal betrayal unfolded, reminiscent of the customs of pagan rulers who eliminated their rivals. And the setting for this drama was the Thermae, a sanctuary of bodily purity, where the heat, intended for cleansing, was used to conceal an inconvenient truth. Delving into these scandalous episodes, it becomes clear that Roman Thermae were not merely places for bathing, but an arena where the true essence of the empire was laid bare. Amidst marble columns and billowing steam, stories full of ambition, passion, betrayal, and death unfolded. Some of these narratives were recorded in the works of authoritative ancient chroniclers, whilst others have reached us only as rumors that have survived centuries. But all of them, whether true or fictional, bear witness to one thing: how far unchecked power can go in its quest to satisfy the darkest desires. The Thermae, these symbols of civilization and leisure, also served as a refuge for the unspoken. Whilst public places, they were at the same time deeply intimate. Today, millennia later, only ruins remain of these baths. But walking through the baths of Caracalla or among the ruins of Pompeii, one can imagine how, through the cracks in the stones, whispers of memories of bygone days still echo,